Hi guys, it's Matt here from the Forex Coach, and just now coming back. We've not recorded for a couple of days, so I started recording this video on Friday, and it's now Wednesday, the 29th of November, and I'm now finishing off. Reason being is we were sitting in a couple of trades over the weekend and sitting in them overnight, so I'll just talk you through them now. So we took 3 trades on Friday. One was a short on the Aussie dollar, and that one actually we held that over the weekend and it hit target. So it was a short on the Aussie dollar. I will now just show you the position. So I just dropped the trade there onto the chart. It was just a small trade because we was already in a couple of other trades at the same time. So we went in short up here, and it hit target price just down there, which was taken from the 4-hour chart. So not a bad exit when you look at them, what happened afterwards. So that was that trade that hit target over the weekend, Sunday night, I believe that one hit target. So the main trade that I want to talk you through though is the other 2 short trades that we had. So we had a short on the Euro US dollar. So Euro dollar, we had a short trade on this, and we had to hold this one over the weekend. So I'll just talk you through what happened with this trade. You can see the entry over here, and on the 4-hour chart, it was always a risky trade in a way because it was a counter trend based trade. But on the 4-hour chart, at the time when we entered, we were in the realms of being overbought, and we hadn't broke this previous high yet. And what we were looking at for this to roll over or have some form of pullback, and a target based on the daily chart. However, we had this breakout and this break higher, but from the price action that I was seeing, and bearing in mind that we were overbought on the 4-hour chart, I knew there was a possibility that this was going to come back. So we had to move the stop slightly, but when we'd done that, we changed the target of the trade as well, so making it a wider target and wider stop. So different kind of type of trade from a day trade, which meant that we were going to be sitting in it for slightly longer time. Now, what actually happened is we did have this turnaround Monday, Tuesday, and we've had this sell-off. Now, there was reasons why we had to get out here, and it was based on support that I was seeing and the fact that it was being oversold and stuff like that. So we ended up taking some profit there, as you can see down here on the trade. We could have taken a bit more looking at what happened to the price there, but since then we're having this bounce. So it wasn't a bad exit, it was just more of a damage limitation trade. So it was a losing trade for all this time that turned profitable because we used our analysis to get out of what was a bad entry. So it was a bad entry from a day trading perspective. However, because I knew my risk plan would allow me to widen the stop slightly based on my existing risk, and then get me out of this trade. So that was the situation with Euro dollar. So Euro pound, similar sort of situation. We got into this trade early Friday. You can see the entry over here, and we had this price action. We'd had this kind of divergence up here on the 1-hour chart, and we had this starting to roll over, and we took an entry. Again, based on the 4-hour chart at the time of entry, we'd get into the realms of being overbought, and it was a lower high than the previous one up here. So we were looking for a rollover from there. And now, again, this euro saw some strength, and this was therefore in drawdown. So again, similar to the euro dollar trade, because my risk allowed me to, I could widen the stop, because overall my analysis that I was looking at on the 4-hour chart, I did think and believe that we would get this rollover at some point. And I knew that there was some news out with regards to the bank stress tests early part of this week, so I knew that that was going to affect the pound one way or another. So anyway, all the way up until yesterday, we were in drawdown, and price yesterday afternoon was up here. But we had that news announcement, and we've had this big turnaround in the euro and strengthen the pound. So we managed to get out of the trade and have a decent profitable trade. Overall, there was two parts to that trade. So overall profit, so we had £91 on the first half of Euro GBP, and then £50 on the Euro dollar, and then Euro pound 101. So 268. There's one more trade I'll just show you. It wasn't one that I posted out, and I'll tell you why, because of price action. But so we got out of that trade, and again I saw the potential for it to having a bounce. It had moved so quickly in such a short time. So what I said to the guys is that we'll look for a bounce today. If we can get a bounce up, then we might be able to get in another short position on it. So it was a good week all in all last week. I've just put a post on Facebook because we had 8 trades in total, 7 of which were winning trades. Albeit a couple of them were underwater for a while, but overall we managed to get out of them profitably. So the other trade I took yesterday, I didn't post this out because look at the candles, they just moved too fast. So I took a short on the FTSE. So the FTSE was lagging the pound. I'd seen this strength in the pound come through yesterday afternoon, and at the time I could see that the FTSE was over a bit overbought on my 5-minute chart, with the potential for it to roll over slightly. So what I'd done was I put in a quick short there, and fortunately I couldn't monitor it. I had to get out of the trade. I would have probably liked to have held it for a little bit, probably down to this zone, but I had to be out, and I knew that I couldn't manage the trade, so I had to just shut it down. But I entered up here, and straight away price closed on that candle. So by the time I typed the trade out on the message group to send it out to everyone, it was, you know, at a price where it wasn't going to work for them. So I sat in it for a minute or two to see whether it would bounce up and we'd be able to get people in, but unfortunately it didn't. It just went. So I closed the trade off anyway. But it was just you know, a point to make out, because the FTSE was lagging the pound. If we see pound strength, we should see a weakness in the FTSE. The same with any major indices. The base currency will always affect the price of that asset. So and sometimes they lag. So sometimes you might have the news on the FTSE, the news on the pound, and the FTSE hasn't reacted yet. So you can make money by reacting quick on that. So that gives you an update where we're at. Other than those trades that we got out from last week, there's been no new trades this week. There has been a couple of setups. However, I've not been able to take them. For example, one yesterday was on the euro dollar, but we was already in that euro dollar short. So I'm looking out for trades this morning. There was a potential of one just here for a short on this euro. Potential short here, but there's part of it's a perfect setup in so many ways, but then there's part of me that wants to see this just push up this little bit higher. If we could get up to sort of 118.835 or anywhere in this zone, I think that would be the better place to short it from this morning. So that's what I've decided. If we can get up here, then that would be the short trade. Just while we're waiting, we've got no other trades going on at the moment. I was just looking at Bitcoin. There's loads in the press at the moment, as everyone's probably seeing. Bitcoin is a bubble, you know, quite clear from the chart. It's a bubble. How high it would go, like I said before, you just don't know. I mean, there is talk that people that are hyping it are saying, you know, it could be one Bitcoin could be up to $100,000, and we're currently at $10,000. So. But then in the same sense, people were saying it was a bubble when it was $1,000, and you know it's now $10,000. So it's very difficult to call the top, and I wouldn't want to do that. And the same sense for me as an investor, I'd never be able to buy something that's, you know, effectively in a bubble. No matter what stage of that bubble is, it's just not in line with my own trading strategy or trading plan. However, I will look at the technicals, and I will trade based on that. Now, looking at the technicals, we're overbought on the monthly, considerably overbought. We're overbought on the weekly. We've been up here since, you know, from way back. Unfortunately, there's no history as such to give you any references or chart patterns or anything like that. But we're now coming up to getting an overbought gain on the daily. Now we actually did, or I did take a short over here somewhere a couple of weeks ago, and the actual take profit was down at this sort of 21 period moving average. It's actually gone down and did make, which is interesting, it did take out the 50 period moving average. Now what is interesting is we have still yet to test this 200 period moving average. So, you know, and that's sitting at 4,000, well, about $4,000 there. So if that was to roll over, and that would be potentially the moving average coming up here, you know, we could see a pullback which could tie in with these previous lows and pull back down to 6,000, between $5,000 and $6,000 on Bitcoin quite easily. So it's just interesting. I was just looking at that and I was thinking, if I see this price action, we should get this pattern again that we had over here, then I think that might be worth taking a short on Bitcoin at that stage. So I mean, at the moment, you know, we've got loads of upwards momentum, as I say, and I'm not going to pick the top, so I'd need to see this similar sort of pattern as to what I saw here. So if we can see this around this zone here, so it kind of just holding between $9,500 and $10,000, and then it looks like it's got the potential to roll over, then it might be worth putting a short in and see what happens with that. So I just thought I'd look at that, and it's interesting. But yeah, it's a bubble. I know people have made lots and lots of money from it. Fair play to them. With bubbles, obviously, you know, they're a pyramid at the end of the day. The early investors, the ones at the top of the pyramid, are the ones that are going to reap the benefits. The people at the bottom of the pyramid are going to be the ones that lose out. Now, to get that pyramid as big as possible, what do all these investment companies do and investors do? And they try and promote Bitcoins, which is fair enough. And there's loads of stuff on the internet now. There's loads of stuff. About giving people awareness of Bitcoin. There are more and more CFDs and contracts for trading them coming out, so I think that's going to be one of the key sort of turning points that's either going to make or break the Bitcoin, and is going to be, you know, what happens when it starts getting traded. At the moment, people are buying and holding it, people aren't, you know, people aren't taking shorts on it as such. You can now, as you can see here, I've got a CFD on Bitcoin, so I can short it. But all of this, really, most people have just been buying and holding, which is just typical sort of patterns of a bubble. So, you know, all bubbles burst at some point, so it's just a matter of waiting and seeing what's going to happen. But I think there is some potential for some good trades, both long and short, on Bitcoin. It's got that volatility that a lot of other markets are lacking of late. So it's an interesting one to keep your eye on, but I will be watching the daily chart on it. Okay, so we've got the short on the euro dollar that I spoke about earlier. I wanted it just to push up here to this 21 period moving average on the 4-hour chart. Hasn't quite done that, but it's come up on the 30-minute chart. It's hit this 200 period moving average. So the 4-hour kind of would have been the 100 period here on the 30-minute chart. Would have liked to have seen a hit on that, but what I saw with this price action here, we had this big push up, this big volume come in. So we'd had this kind of started to sell off this morning, which could have coached some people in. Then we've had this sort of push up, this volume come in, and I would have liked to have waited a little bit longer on this, but as I could see on the 1-minute chart, it started to come off. I've taken the entry here, so we've got to stop well above this 21 period moving average, so if it does overshoot some, but we're looking for a retest of these lows and touch of this 50 period moving average. So we're looking for it to really sell off now. Now we've got 50 minutes to the close of this bar, like similar trades we've done this time of day. This 4-hour bar is crucial to this trade. If it holds as it is, then the target will move up to sort of this lower price envelope up here somewhere, and it won't be much of a trade. However, if it does start to come off and we have, you know, some sort of bearish price action on this candle, then we can expect to get down to this level. Okay, so we've seen the euro come off slightly since entry. We've got some sort of bearish price patterns here on the 30-minute chart, but it's still got a lot of work to do, because on the 4-hour chart we've still got a fairly strong candle here. So it does put the trade into question mark. If it closes up here, we're probably going to have to bring the target up, and we've got 6 minutes to go to the close of this 4-hour candle. Okay, so we're coming off a bit now. However, I have trailed the stop down to the entry level on this trade now, so it is now a risk-free trade. We still had a fairly strong close here on this 4-hour chart, so I'm probably going to look to maybe exit around this level here. I'm just still deciding. I'm going to look at this price action and see how it runs down, but potentially the exit may be just a bit above where it is at the moment. Okay, we're just getting a bit of price action here on the euro short. So we've had a candle down here, fairly strong candle down, but so I'm just going to keep my eye on this potential exit. In fact, I'm probably going to move the target price just up here on this trade, because I think looking at the 5-minute chart, if it gets down to this level, then it could bounce from there. So just changing the target price on the euro short. I'm also just going to take part profit at this level as well, as we've moved the target up. We're more than halfway towards that, so I can justify taking some of the profit off this. It's purely because of the price action, the fact that this could get oversold in the next sort of 5-10 minutes, and therefore potentially that could tie in with the potential for this bouncing back up. If it hadn't have done this strong 4-hour bar and that had come off sooner, then I would have held out for this lower target, but it could still get down there. But for me, I've just got to get out of this trade when I can now. Okay, and the trade was taken on the 5-minute chart, and based on that, we're getting to the realms of being oversold now. It's still got the potential of pushing down here, but based on it being oversold, and we've got this negative histogram and stuff, and the price action on the 4-hour chart, I'm going to exit this trade here and close the second half. So rule out of the euro dollar short there from this morning. Okay, Matt here, just back, and I'm going to be wrapping up this video here. So I'm going to call that a day. I've taken a few hundred quid out of the markets the last couple of days, which is good on this account. So it's been a good run. Now the euro dollar has done the move that we was looking for with regards to the touch now of the 50-period moving average. So there's a good chance here we could see a bit of a bounce. However, this is the second time now we've come through this 50-period moving average, so we could get a bit further downside, maybe down to this sort of level here, 117,630, before then maybe a bounce higher again for a while. But we couldn't hold that move like I discussed, because this 4-hour bar here was just too strong for me to be able to hold it, so hence why we took the exit there. However, after the exit around this sort of zone here, it's come down, had a bit of a bounce, they come down further, and then, you know, potentially can push up from here. So the theory was right, the trade was right. You know, we took some profit, we didn't get the full potential at the trade, but it's just how it goes sometimes, purely based on that 4-hour bar. If that had closed a bit weaker, then, and this price envelope hadn't curved around at the time, then I probably would have held out on that trade. Other than that, that's it for now. I'm going to wrap this video up because it's quite a long one. I've got it's quite a long video, bearing in mind it's sort of covered information over a few days. And I'll be back, should be back tomorrow with some more trade announcements and more updates. Bye for now.